good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining us from the part of this planet. Uh, I'm super excited and honored to have you at this 2023 LARAS Mothers Summit. LARAS Mothers Summit started in 2021, and that was when we began the series of the Boys Future, Boys Challenge global discourse from boyhood to manhood. And something struck my heart because of one, my personal life experiences as it relates to my mother. I realized during my transitioning years, she became very ill. And as a result of businesses not turning out profit as expected. And as a mother of 9 children, 5 boys and 4 girls, it became so overwhelming for her. And quite unfortunate, there was no any support that came from my father, who then was very alcoholic. And it became a big trauma for her and for us as children, especially me. You know, I don't know how to really bring these tears back to my face this moment. I remember the year I had my admission into the Polytechnic, and very touching. She was chained down with chains on her legs, confined to a bedroom. And you have to go to the river to go fetch water. And I had to leave to maybe about 5 hours away, go back to school. And I watched her at that state at that time. And I look at what she was going through. There were no help. And I told myself, I'm going to pull through this, and whatever the circumstance it might look like, I'm going to do something in her honor. So when we began, I went, but in the end, I lost her to a mental health problem, which was not, I was not within the financial capacity to support her in the hospital. So this was very challenging. And today, I still see a lot of mothers who are struggling with whether it's a legal challenge, it's a psychological challenges, problems here and there. And mothers will always be mothers, even when they are sick. So it takes a healthy mother to raise a healthy son. So that was what informed me after this series of experiences. That I was going to create a platform, a global platform where mothers can receive support, education, inspiration on how to cultivate the boys they nurture to become a positive human being, a positive adult male. So I want to really thank you for being here and appreciate every one of you for taking your time to be part of this summit. By the time we come almost to the close of the summit, I do believe we'll be able to draw a call to action on what we can do at the global level to support mothers who have sons, how to navigate the journey of this motherhood with their young boys. Thank you, everyone. As I call on Jackie to continue moderating this conversation. I appreciate you all. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ola. Your journey has been amazing, and I would like to start this time with you that with a quote by Marie Curie, actually. Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so we may fear less. So as we go today, the concept of, first of all, understanding the challenges. Second of all, having a choice of solutions. And third is to actually create action toward making that more sustainable in our world. It's really obvious to me that we need that in our world. It doesn't take any more than turning on a television set to figure that one out. So the point being that when we have the empathy with our children and listen to what they're doing and what's happening in their world without judgment, I think that's a very good beginning. As the mother of 4 boys and 9 grandsons, I have had a lot of experience with the male population in growing them into whatever is possible to make that a good experience for any of them. So as I watch and listen today, those 3 points are what I would love to hear. And that is, first of all, because you are in countries all over the world, what are some of the typical challenges that are being interfaced with? How are you solving those challenges? And then the third is, what can you recommend as action for yourself, others on the screen, as well as us as a group? Because Ola certainly would love to be able to cause impact, a positive impact in all that we're doing, perhaps as a group. That's the whole concept, as one. What a concept, one. And let us work toward that concept. So each of our speakers today, as they represent cultures all over the world, if you'd mute yourself, please, unless you're speaking, thank you. And all of the conflicts that are happening in other cultures. That's what I'm always curious about. What was happening? What was happening that caused that? And I would say also before we start that it's not that we can blame the mothers for anything that's happening, because they're the core of all that's happening. It's instead to empower them, to honor them, such as the word LARAS, L-A-R-A-S, means in Sudanese is precious, precious. So the fact that all of us understand how precious the role of the mother is, whether it's a single mother or not, although we're focusing on single mothers, is to realize the importance and to step up, to pay attention, because those little boys will mimic absolutely everything that we do. So if you will, when we call on you now, Ola, you have the bios for these people. I don't, so I'm a little kind of at a loss. But all I know is that they have an amazing backgrounds in depth of raising children. And I so am excited to hear from each of them. And then at the end, we'll be here from 8 to 10 Pacific time. Then at the end, we would love to be able to hear from some of you, because we have some, even the ones I know, the ones I don't know, can add to this story and to be able to, again, come to not only challenges, but solutions and action together. So, Ola, should we start with Judy?
No, ma'am, we started with Pastor Catherine. That's the order of events.
Okay, let's start with Pastor.
Pastor Catherine will be the next. Will now, I'll see if I can contact Noreen as the conversation continues.
Okay. I'll see if I can catch her. Okay, with that concept, Pastor, I'm sorry I don't have all of your amazing background in front of me. If you will go ahead and share it yourself, I'm sure that it will be obvious as you speak.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are today. Welcome to LARAS Mothers. It's a wonderful initiative that Brother Ola is presenting. Thank you, Jackie, for moderating this morning. It is a wonderful day. It is a time for us to recognize that we are responsible for our children. As I said, it takes a village to raise a child. And we all need to come together to raise children, not just boys, but also girls. But boys are the ones that supposed to be the strength, to be the head as God ordained it. But I just want us to come to that place and understand and remember the first time when you held your child in your arms. I remember my first time when I held my first child, which was a daughter. And I remember preparing for a boy. And when the time of birth, she came out to be a girl. So I had all my boys' name, all the boys' name that I could possibly think, Jonathan, Joseph, Jeremiah, all of this, because it was going to be in a J. And there, my daughter came, and all I heard was, call her Naomi. So my daughter's name is Naomi. Then my second child was a boy. Well, I had already prepared his name, and his name is Joseph. My other son, his name is Matthew. But I remember each one of them when I held them in my arms, and then when I put them to my face, all I could feel is their wet, cold lips. And even now, when I call their name or when I think about them, I still feel that wet, cute kiss on your face. And just, you remember, there's a commercial that comes on TV that, you know, I remember that thing. Every time I see a Pampers commercial and I see the mother, I remember. It takes me right back. But I'm a mother of 3, and I am a pastor. I'm a counselor. I'm one that, you know, God have used to do tremendous things. But I've nurtured a lot of young men. I've done prison ministry to meet a lot of young men in there because of lack of parenting, possibly, lack of fathers in the house, and a lack of many things that parents are responsible for. Today, we're living in a world where it is very angry. The spirit in the environment all around the world, it's anger. And as a parent, you have to cover, you have to clothe your children in joy, in peace, in love. And on my journey, when my separation came and I became sick, I still had to raise my 3 children. So for 20 years, we raised them without their father, and still have to go through. I was diagnosed with lupus, and that also put a challenge into raising. But thank God, you never stop being a parent, sick, weak, whatever it is, you know, they're still there for you to nurture them because they don't know anything different. So going back to the point of why we're here this morning is about nurturing children, knowing how to raise them. What are the solutions, especially in this 21st century? What are the things that is expected of a parent, whether single or not? What is expected of us for ourselves? Because we know that society have already equipped our children to get into a place where they're preparing only the jails for our young men rather than a place where they can be nurtured, been strengthened, and been covered in all different areas. So there are 10 areas that I want to talk about that shows us how to train and to raise up our young men into professional men, into good men, into men of integrity. And one of the tips for the first area in raising boys is about giving them responsibility. One of the areas that we never look at as parents, we train our children too quickly to do chores. No, if a child feels that he gets something to do, he feels worthy, he finds purpose. And one of the areas that a lot of North American parents do with their children is about, you do a chore, you get paid. Whether that is good or bad, I still battle with that, because a child needs to learn that they have responsibility as part of the human race on the earth. So it's not that you barter with them. There is no reason to barter with our children. It's to show them your responsibility, especially in the home. The other area is giving and showing them emotions, showing them how to love. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have a good laugh. It's okay to be sad. It's giving them an understanding. This is how life is. There's ups and downs, and there are different ways how to deal with it. So when a child finds responsibility, one of the areas you must show them how to finish a task. You show them the skills that they have. You show them in the areas of how to practice what they have, how to strengthen what they have. So the ability that they have, some of them, at an early stage may love to make cupcakes. So you bring them into the kitchen, young men. You bring these young boys, 3 and 4 years old, into the kitchen, and they have fun with it, and you show them. They learn math, they learn English. Math, how to measure. English, how to recognize things by words. How to develop, as a preschooler, regular way to take care of things. If they have a pet in the house, what their responsibility is, how to have a pet. The other area is how to be responsible for their own hygiene. It is important for you to brush your teeth. It's important for you to wash your hands. A lot of diseases and sickness come through so it's teaching the child the responsibility of how to nurture themselves. The other way is, again, as I said, about emotions, knowing how to deal with the emotions, showing them how to enlighten themselves. Boys are often expected to sniffle with tears and swallow their anger, while girls allow them to be free rein and show their emotion. Boys need to know how to show their emotion. They need not at a very tender age, because the more they well up and these things hold up within them, you find that later on in life, they are very angry. They become very depressed or very withdrawn. So when you show a child it's okay to show your emotions, they will learn, they will grow in a certain area, knowing how to deal with certain things. So when a son gets upset, let him express himself as long as he isn't being destructive or completely out of control. What happened with mothers, and this is what was told to me at a very early age in my boy's life, that my daughter and I are very strong women, and we are not to smother the boys. Mothers have a tendency of smothering boys, not allowing them to show their emotion, to express themselves in that way, because it's not good for boys to cry. No, mothers need to let the children be who they are so they can be free from all of the toxic that can get into their being and not able to show who they truly are. It's okay. It's okay to let your boy be sad. It's okay. You comfort them to a point, but then let them know that, okay, you don't stay there, you shake up yourself. He regains control of his emotion. He can talk to him about his feelings and why, and help him to label his feelings, whether he is hurt, sad, or angry. So, how are you feeling? I feel sad. Okay. What do we do about it? What can we do about it? These are the things that we speak to our young men. It doesn't matter what culture you are, what culture, it does not matter. One of the things that I've learned, and I am an observer, I look at, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. If you get a cut, you feel pain, blood flows out of you. It is the same in China. It's the same in Africa. It's the same in North America. It's in the same anywhere across the world. So we as mothers feel the same pain for our children. Doesn't matter where you are. It's not a matter of saying, well, this culture doesn't. No, it's supposed to, you feel pain. Let that pain be known. I am sad. I am angry. I am depressed. Let it be known so that it can be dealt with rather than be bottled up. And later on, it becomes a destructive behavior to our children. Also, there's another area with physical affection. When children reach a certain age, they don't want mom to hug them. They don't want mom to do certain things with them. Well, it's still okay to hug your son. You congratulate him. It's his birthday. It's an anniversary of whatever it is he have achieved. You know, it's okay to embrace, because a lot of young men that are out there today is because of the lack of affection. Why we have so much of sexual assault and these things is one of the area that where there was a lack of affection in the child's growing up, or they've never heard the word, you know, I love you, or they've never been expressed in that manner, stating that, you know, you are loved, you are precious, you are beautiful, you are awesome, you can do it. All of these things to lift the moral of a young man. We don't get a lot of that in some of the maybe even in the African culture, because you're supposed to be in the German culture or however it is. But a child still wants to hear that, because that's part of who we were created to be, to know that we are loved, we have a purpose, we have all of these things. Boys need to observe that moms have a physical contact with their boys. The trend starts as a toddler. Boys get older, they're likely to shy away from hugs and kisses. Parents, especially when friends are around, but even when they say that they don't want it, they still need affection. And we are able to give that to them. Rub their back while they're doing something in the kitchen, saying, good job, you know, let them know you're doing a great job. Sometimes, you know, that's just that little touch makes a big difference. The other area is reviving their engine, showing them what it is that they need to do. Boys tend to have a lot of energy. You know, we say the terrible twos or the energetic eights, however they want to call them, but they have a lot of energy. And this is a problem that I think that has hit the world. Boys, when they reach a certain age, in some cultures, children go to school from about 4 years old, or probably 2 or 3 years old. They took them to Montessori school, and then all this child know from that age is school. And boys are energetic, so fine, when they take them to these places, they're expecting these children to sit. When you have a child that is very energetic, it is very difficult to get that child to sit. And the solution is, we need to find places for these children to vent all that energy, get them going. You can't have them in a classroom at that age and want them to sit still. There are a lot of creative things that are going on in them and things that they need to exert. So there's cultures that children go to school from 6 years old. They're more tamer from age 8. They're getting to that place where they can sit and focus and concentrate and build and create and all of these things. But when parents or teachers don't know how to deal with a child with so much energy, society says something is wrong with that child. Society says take that child to the doctor because they have ADHD, and then we put drugs in that child, and then next thing that child starts to go in an opposite direction. And it's because we don't want to deal with the energy that that child has. So boys tend to have a lot of energy, which they pent up. If they don't have enough chance to run, climb, blow off steam, just be sure to remind your son that there are times and places, the classroom, for example, where they'll need to shift to a lower gear. Nurturing, the fathers have nurturing side, the good ones at least. The little boy who likes to cuddle his stuffed animals and developing skills that they serve will have him as a well being in adulthood. Now, again, each culture, each child has a different personality. I don't treat my two boys the same way. One has a very soft touch. The other one is very rugged and like tough things and like to build and like big engines and things like that. So you have to know how to deal with children in different manner. Now, we as parents need to understand all what we are supposed to do as nurturing children. Give a chance, social skills. Again, teaching your child social skills. Most boys don't form close, intimate friendship as easy as other boys. Why? Because again, their personality differences. Again, as a parent, you got to know your child. The society cannot know your child. The teacher will not know your child, and the peers will not know your child. You are the only one that will know your child along with the child himself. Therefore, if a child is very creative, you know what to do. You get him blocks, you get him books, you get him paint, you get whatever things that he needs to nurture the gift that he has within him. Now, when we have these other kids that are very rough and rugged and they want to climb, they want to do, well, they may be athletic. You got to understand and discern whether these kids are for the field, they want to run. So you take them out in the field and see what they will do. Again, society may say one thing because they want a certain type of child, but you know what you have created. The other one, you may have a child who loves music. Part of his life is about practicing instruments, and you can give a son a valuable sense of accomplishment. Give him an instrument, give him something to develop the skill that he has within him, because within him, when I told the doctors that my son was not speaking until he was about 7 years old, and I said, he sings, he will beat the drums. When I say beat the drums, he will find cups, turn it over, get a straw and start beating it, beat the pots, beat the pans, and things. And that was a strong gift that he had. Today he beats drums. Today he will go into different churches in different places and beat drums. So that skill, you strengthen that skill so that he can fulfill his accomplishment in what it is that so you got to know what it is your child's strength is, even from pamper stage. You will see the things that child loves. Why? Because as the mother, you nurture, you seek, you understand, why the child is crying, why certain things is happening to them, because you pay attention. A mother pays attention. A mother's heart will always grieve and hear and know what is going on with their child. So again, this is something that we always have to look at. Number 8, a mother encourages the interest of that child's activities. A son who wants to take dance lessons, his friends may tease him. You might have a hard time to deal with it, but it is a child's desire. Now, society goes as part of entertainment. The same boy that, was being teased is the same boy that is entertaining the world, because now that parent nurtured the gift that he had, and he dances and he does whatever it is he had desire to do. The other area is get involved in the schools. Parents or mothers need to get involved in the school, see what the school is teaching, see what the school is doing, and be part of it. Be part of the school trips, be part of the classroom activities, be part of the monitoring in the schoolyard, be part of whatever it is that's going on. Find yourself there, make yourself part of the school or the community where you are. A boy's behavior, even when it's age appropriate, can be hard for adults to deal with. Boys get plenty of correcting, reprimanding, and scolding in school, but at home, as a result, parents often complain that boys get the attention, get all the attention in the classroom, and that's not true. We find that the girls get the attention in the classroom because she has a different type of gift. The boys are always being sent to the office because, again, being very energetic, not able to sit still, and that creative juices are flowing with them in their testosterone, and they must understand. Teachers and they that don't understand, may just can't deal with it, send the child to the office. One of the area as a parent, again, communication, listening. A lot of those areas is very much important in nurturing boys because society have already have them to fail. But as a mother and as a parent, you have the ability to cause your children to succeed in every area of their life by just speaking the word of encouragement. Sometimes, a child may be going through such great tension and obstacle, but is the voice of a mother that child will always remember. The voice of a mother that is encouraging him and telling him what he should do and how to do it. So praise is very important for a young man, showing
Thank
him
you,
how
Pastor.
he can excel. Yes.
Thank you, Pastor. We're going to need to move on. You've had so many wonderful things. I've got a whole page full of them, of ways that would be solutions for any culture. And that is delightful. I thank you so much for all of your thoughts. And again, it has nothing to do with literally what culture you're in.
That's right.
I think they're sound, beautiful things for all of us to remember, especially controlling our emotions and showing them how to, so they can do it at any point.
That's right.
Ola, who would you like to have second, Ola? By the
Thank
way,
you,
welcome
Jackie.
to all.
Welcome. For those who just joined us, that was Pastor Catherine from Canada, giving us a load of insight into understanding different characters of boys. Pastor Catherine, I know you've given us so much, but in 1 minute, I'd like you to just wrap up before we bring in Faith Nashipai from Kenya, all the way from Kenya to at least take the time to enlighten, educate all the moms that are here today. So, Pastor Catherine, do you want to use 1 more minute to just wrap up what you got to say? And after that, Faith Nashipai will be the next to speak.
Okay, thank you. One of the most important thing I want to say out of all of the nurturing and all of the raising of a child in this 21st century, because the world is so angry, and for them not to become part of that attachment of the anger that is out there, and to show the children, your sons, on a one-on-one, how much they are worthy, how much they are valued, and letting them see their purpose, giving them praise and knowing that they can do all things as they put their mind to do. And whatever they need is always to communicate, talk, and always seek for a higher calling, not for something that less than who they are. So I say, parent mothers, you do a wonderful job. Continue embracing and loving your sons, because he, most of all, needs that more than even the girls, because I find that the girls are strong, but they also need the love of the father, but the boys need the very strong love of their mother to help them and to push them forward. So I thank you very much for this time. And I say, God bless you. Mothers, you're doing a great job. Continue on the journey.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you. So, Jackie, please bring in Faith Nashipai from Kenya.
So we have East Africa about to be present to tell us what's happening on the entire continent. Not really, because we have Nigeria sitting right next to her. So please enlighten us into some of the challenges and possible solutions, and even action if you can. Thank you. Except you're muted. There, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Jackie, for having me. Thank you, Ola, for this great opportunity. I am so excited that this is the third time we are having the LARAS Mothers Summit. It's just a wonderful thing that across the waves, we can discuss something and it just happens. Interesting that we've been able to do quite a lot with the Being a Man mentorship and advocacy and mentorship, and all this has been virtually. We've never met with Ola, but we've been able to do a lot. And in 2021, he reached out, he told me, Faith, this LARAS mother, can you just reach out to one boy? I know you're a mother of boys, but reach out to a boy and just share some love. And he challenged me. I told him, fine, Ola, I'm gonna do that. If that is what LARAS mother is all about, then let me share the precious love of a mother. And I reached out, I gave lunch to a young man, listened to him, and he left the seat smiling. So I am so happy to see that we are having this, and I believe that you're going to multiply this kind of love with all the mothers in the house. Reach out to a boy who's not your son, who's not known to you, and someone who really needs some love and support, and just embrace. For a few minutes, share a meal, and let the boy go home feeling there are mothers around in the world. My name is Faith Nashipai. I also go by the name the Men and Boys Ambassador. I love boys. I am a mother of 3 wonderful sons. I'm not yet as matured and advanced as Jackie, who has grandchildren. But I can only imagine your holiday when you're having all the children in the house.
Yeah, and it's Italian, so need I say any more?
Oh, look at that. So I have been in the journey of motherhood for about 20 years now. And I remember when I started this business of motherhood. My first son came about 20 years ago. And I remember holding him in my hands, and I was a very young girl at 21. So I had all this confusion, and I was feeling like, oh, my dreams have been cut short. I was like seeing some level of darkness in my life, because I'm like, okay, I'm a young mother with a child in Africa, and I don't know how to move from here. And I've never raised a son. I'm the least in my father's house. So I have no experience with raising children, let alone a boy.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing I was certain about was the joy and the excitement I had of just beholding my baby in my arms and looking at him, praying for him and telling him, you know what, you will become a great man. Last Saturday, we had a meetup and we sat down and we really talked. And I told him, you're becoming that great man I first saw. And he could just give me a sheepish smile. At 20 years, I'm seeing a whole man with beards. And I couldn't help but hold my tears back, because I'm like, oh, this is becoming. And I thank God for that. So that has been my journey of taking care of three wonderful young men who are all different in their character, different in their personality, different in their way of doing things.
I will definitely later.
Can you please mute? I don't think I can mute you. Go ahead. I think we're okay.
Thank you. So it's been a journey. Besides me raising my own children, I live in a community in Africa where you cannot just pass not seeing what is happening in your society. And therefore, in looking at what is happening within my society, I kind of feel alone with the boy child, because we start discriminating our sons right from the family stage. Where in Africa, a boy is expected to become a man even at 7 years. We expect that a boy at 7 years will be able to give us security at the door when someone knocks in the evening. And I really wonder, this is a child, this is not an adult. But because of our African culture and our norms, our social norms, we kind of believe that the man is the leader. So even when he's a young boy, we expect too much from him. And this goes on all the way into adulthood. But the main thing about this boy is that even in our cultures, unfortunately, our cultures don't teach us how to train our children something that Catherine was talking about, social life skills, survival life skills like getting into the kitchen. I mean, most of our African cultures tell our boys that men don't go to the kitchen is for women. Most of our cultures tell the boys that you don't sit like this is where you sit, you don't sit with women and girls, you sit on this other side of life. There are all these things about our culture, our norms. And unfortunately, we grow up in these norms. Unfortunately, we allow our sons to go through this process, and we have not been able to really challenge these things. Then now the boy is waking up and leaving Kenya, going to another country, and he's stuck. Stuck because if he comes to the Northern American countries or whichever country he goes to, even the Europe, he will have a challenge with cooking for himself. He will have a challenge with taking care of himself. He will have a challenge with communicating with others. So we have left our sons with phones, and now they have become screen addicts. We've left them on the couch. They've become couch cabbages, where they just sit down and they're just laid back and they're waiting for everything to be served. But the world is not going that direction. We already left that point. Where we are headed and where the world is headed is where someone has to do, a family needs two people to feed. In our current economies, both Africa and even internationally. So the reality is that we cannot, that those days of men sitting down and just waiting to be fed, to waiting for food and all that, left. Now we are in a place where the woman has to provide, the man has to provide. And as this goes on, we realize that there is a lot of sharing of family roles. The roles that were predominantly female are now becoming roles that are being shared even with our sons. And as they proceed, you realize that a father nowadays in Africa will be very comfortable, especially my ages. They'll be very comfortable changing diapers. They'll be very comfortable cooking in the house. They'll be very comfortable helping around with some washing or something like that. So the roles have really changed, as we had said earlier, as we were starting the summit. We mentioned that the world has mambo jumbo. You know, everything is mixed up. And so we are finding a roles change. And even in the gender sector, because I happen to be an advocate for men, a very passionate advocate for men and boys. The truth is that right now, we are having a different way of looking at roles. Whatever we knew as roles for men have become, for women, have also become roles for women. Whatever we knew as roles for men are now being taken over by women, and whatever we knew as roles for women are being taken over by men. And there is a lot of sharing of roles. So whatever we are feeling, what I'm seeing personally in the environment is that the only role that is remaining that is per gender is the biological role, where it is given to a woman.
What is a zone?
Where it is given for a woman
What is a zone?
physiologically to Eke, kindly mute your mic.
Yes, I think we got everybody.
Okay. So you find that all these roles have been mixed up, and we need to start training our sons from the youngest point that this is the world where you're growing into. This is where you're heading into, because we need to start focusing. What will the world be for my son when he is 20, 30, 40?
Please mute. I thought I had everyone, but it looks like I'm missing someone. It's a little hard to see with this many people on the screen. Please mute if you're not speaking.
So basically, in from an African context, and what will apply for a young man, even as he grows into a good man or an all-rounded man, is that we need to train him to be independent. We need also to train him to be sensitive to his world. I personally find that in my work, working with a lot of men, because I do a lot of not just advocacy, but I also do a lot of empowerment of men and boys. You realize that there is the component of emotional intelligence and social intelligence. Those two components are missing in men, unfortunately. Unless we start doing it from the time when they are young, then we don't expect to start folding a tree or shaping up a tree as it grows when it is already old. It will break. Or it will take too much for us to do the folding. So instead of us waiting for a man in his 1920s, why not start with a young boy when he is just on your laps? And this is how you do it. Go to the hospital, let the child get the normal jabs that they normally get, and embrace them and tell them sorry. Don't tell them you're a man, men should not cry. It should never be like that. As long as someone has been pricked, there is pain. He is human. First, look at the boy as a human being. So whatever would happen to any human being when he has been pricked, because there is immunization that he has to go through, then that means that this boy is going through the same thing that you as a human being would have to feel. So feel with him and help him understand that, yeah, I'm so sorry that you have to go through this, but it is a necessity that these jabs have to come. As they grow up, let them also learn how to communicate and to speak and to put words to their emotions. Instead of just letting him hit around and not talk and not say anything, ask him, how do you feel? Help him to put words to those emotions. When he's so excited, teach him, oh, you're excited. As he grows, he will understand how to express himself. I'm going to this level because I'm speaking to mothers today, and I'm excited to speak to mothers. The next thing is let your son learn how to express his emotions, not just putting words, but expressing. And I like what Catherine said, because sometimes, many times, our sons, we don't understand them. So he's angry. And because he's angry, he doesn't know how to say he's angry. So he's going to hit on something, try to do something. Probably he's seen the father, especially in Africa, where fathers hit. He sees hitting, and so he wants to also hit because that is the kind of thing that he's seen in his environment. Teach him that when you're angry, this is how you should express your anger. Nurturing goes to the level of understanding the emotions and helping express the emotions. Nurturing goes to the level of helping your son be mindful of his environment. Mindful of his environment, because when he has thrown a tantrum in the supermarket and you didn't have enough money to buy him anything and you're pulling him along, are you helping him? If anything, you are shaming him. But sit down with him before you leave the house. Tell him, you know what? We are going to the supermarket. I have noticed you have something. You always like loading things on my shopping tray. So let's change this today. And what you're going to do is, this is the list. We are going to keep the list. The minute you start training him that this is the list that we keep to, and this is the money that we have, even when you go to the shop, you will simply tell him, hey, boss, we had a contract. My money is not going beyond this. Do you have some money that you'd want? Do you have some pocket money that you'd want to add to this? So from there, he starts understanding that I would want something, but I may not be having it until I have the ability to acquire it. So he will not throw you tantrum. And when he throws you tantrums, there's a time my son threw me a tantrum in the supermarket. I told him, okay, let someone sort you out. And as long as you follow me and you get home, we are okay. He realized he's not getting help, so he just followed me. And it is okay to be a tough mom. I'm simply talking about discipline. It is fine to be a tough mom. In Africa, there is something we call rites of passage. And during this rites of passage, our sons go through a process and they're taught and they're told that they are men. And then after that, mothers don't know how to handle their men. The boy becomes a man after around 7, between different cultures, 7 to 14 years, a lot in the Kenyan context. And after this, mothers don't know how to handle their sons. So the sons have come and they've been told, you don't handle your mother things. This is how you handle your mother. You don't do this. You don't hug your mother. You don't kiss your mom. All these don'ts and do's and everything. And somehow mothers are just, I got lost. Please mute. So with this, it is important that every mother understands from their culture, and it is good to reason with the father of your child if he's present and find out, yes, you put my son through this process. What am I supposed to do? And what is my place in his life so that I can support him in his growth? Besides that, it is good to understand what are the normal things that you need to do. One of the things that I was able to do as my sons were going through this process is that after that, discipline became an issue to do with the father. So I relinquished the role of hard discipline to the dad. I became the nice cop. The father became the bad cop. And this has worked because it has, what I do more of sitting down and reasoning and helping them understand that you're becoming men. And becoming men means that you just have to focus on life and do things the right way. So at that level, we have learned how to negotiate through issues and see the repercussions of things. Many times we just leave boys to make life of themselves, understand things on their own, try to do things on their own, but we don't give them the details of, this is the repercussion, this is what you're doing, this is the impact, and this is what it is going to do to us or to the people around. If we can be able to define all these things to a boy as he is growing, and it is so easy, pick lessons from wherever you are. In the kitchen, when you're cooking with him, let him cut the onions as you discuss something, and within no time, that is already gone. Do something, watch a movie and pick a lesson from the movie and take just 5 minutes and leave it there. The boy is learning over time. So it's not like you have to take him for a cruise ship for you to unleash all these trainings. No. These are things that we can do every other day as we train our son. When you notice that he is rude, call him out, call that out and tell him, hey boss, my son, I noticed that this is not right. Actually, it is not going to work for you in the environment where you're going. So you better start checking on this and changing your ways. That way the boy is learning in the right way and in the right environment. The other thing I would tell parents, give your child full information. When my son came and asked me about HIV and AIDS at 7 years, I sat down with him and I asked him, what have you learned? And with all the learning that he had, I made sure that I filled in the few gaps that were in the information. The next thing I told him is that this is how we as a family, this is our value system as a family. So this is the truth. There is the abstinence, there is the being faithful, and there is the use of condoms. However, these are our value systems as our family, and we keep our value systems. The next thing I told him was, beyond the value system, this is what we as a family, me and your father, require you to become. So every other time I have had to speak to my sons, I go back to those moments when we had all these encounters with each and every one of them, talking about sexuality, talking about drugs and substance, talking about any other thing in the society that I feel does not align to what I want to become. That way it is very easy, and you can even from there and start asking. At now we are talking about how many girlfriends, which girl, what is the name of your new girlfriend, and all these other things in a joking manner, because we already have a bond and we have something, we have a foundation that we can build up some of these discussions on. But when you leave him to make up his own life, you don't help him understand his direction, his wet dream. You don't help him understand how he reacts to a beautiful girl, because yes, it will happen, and he'll tell you. One of my sons told me, Mommy, I see this girl and I feel like I'm sweating. My hands are wet. And I realized, okay, my boy is a good boy. He's natural and he's a man. So at the end of the day, affirm him, tell him, yeah, it is normal. You are a human being. And yes, this is how you can manage it. So don't just
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Don't laugh
Okay.
at him, but help him process the feelings and also help him understand what to do with the feelings. At the end of the day, we are wonderful mothers. I want to call on the mothers as I end. I notice my time's up. I want to call on mothers to do just 3 things. Discrimination happens in the family. If you're buying your daughter innerwears, buy your boys innerwears. Don't buy your daughter's innerwears every 3 months, and then your boys are going to get a change of innerwears at the end of the year. I have experience with boys who don't know what innerwears are in the community when I'm engaging with them. It is really a bad thing. The other thing is, when you're feeding your children, feed your boy, feed your girl. When you're giving them a fare to go to school, give the 2 of them. Don't give one and expect the other to somehow get to school. And normally it is the boy who's supposed to somehow get to school. The other thing is chores. Train the 2 of them. They are all children. Treat them as children. Help them understand. Help them learn all these things, because it is part of their lives. Environment setting is very important for mothers. Whatever you present in the environment is what your children glean from. If you're a noisy, shouty, crazy mother who's always screaming, you're going to scare these people away. They will not know how to communicate. They will not know how to express themselves. Set the right environment for both children. Cultivate values and connection. Be very religious in cultivating values in your children. And as you cultivate the values in the girl child, because we are very careful and very meticulous about our girl child, but we leave our boys to just grow. Be very religious in cultivating values in the boy child. And finally, keep connected. Connect with your child, connect with your son, embrace him, let him understand that even when he doesn't feel like embracing you, you still love him. Always affirm your love to your children. It is very, very important. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Jazz hands. Thank you so much. There is so much going on there. And we really appreciate all of your thoughts. I can't take enough notes. And another culture is always wonderful to learn from. So what we'd like to do before we move on to the next speaker is to have the United States heard from, and that is Russ. If you would like to say a few words, that would be great, because I know you need to leave.
Thank you, Jackie, and Ola, and everyone. I appreciate so much the ability to speak to mothers, because as a male, having been a child, it's not always easy to know what to do for a kid like a boy. So number one, I'm going to pack a whole speech into 2 minutes here. Number one, a boy follows role models. Be very careful to try to invite into your boy's life, if there is not a father, if there is not a strong father, there needs to be a father figure or someone older than he is that he can emulate. So mothers can do so much, but a boy needs to see what a man is all about in order to grow into one. If they don't find one in their environment, they will go out and search for one. And that could be a drug culture, a group of whatever. So sports are wonderful. Boys need physical contact. They need physical contact with other boys and men, that to sense, oh, you know, I'm not an isolated being. Now, Pastor McKay, you brought up a very important point at the very beginning. We have boys that are so angry. I've been a therapist for 40 years and a professional musician conductor for 50 years. And one thing is true. Anger is a secondary emotion. It's a way that all of us will push back when the actual emotion underneath is either sadness, shame, or fear. If we're told that we can't be sad, and or we're told, how dare you, you're a bad little boy, we say these things, they get taken in as if stones in the soul of any child. But boys are super sensitive, believe it or not. So what we need to do is to realize that if this boy is angry and is acting out, there's something much deeper that really needs to be addressed. If somebody's angry, to say, tell me, what is it that you're really trying to feel? What is the sadness behind that? Or did something happen at school today? Or try to go deeper, go underneath what's obvious, because that's a mask. And we need to understand that. Boys are wonderful, girls are wonderful. And I have another responsibility right now that I need to go give a lecture, and they're just going to have to wait for me. But fact is, I want you to know that I guess I've said it, having someone in the life that they can emulate, in addition to you, who are wonderful. And then understand that what you see on the surface is not what's really going on inside. You must encourage that inner reality to come forth, to be released.
Beautiful.
Anyway,
Beautiful.
thank you so much, Ola. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for all of you. And I look forward to taking a look at the recording afterwards.
Oh, beautiful, Russ. That's just so wonderful. You just brought all that through, and it's so very important. And I think that we need to also realize they become what we tell them they are.
Absolutely.
They become what we tell them they are. You're stupid, you idiot. Why'd you do it? They will become that because they're told that's who they are, instead of what they did. What you did was not real smart, and I know that you know better than that. They become with what you tell them. Thank you so much, Russ. I appreciate where you are and what you're doing, and gosh, you're close to me. Why the heck haven't we seen each other? Anyhow.
I'll look at the recording. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much. Judy Chu, are you there? Present and accounted for. I know you are, and I know I can't see you. Oh, right next to me. That's why I can't see you.
But isn't Noreen going before me? That was what Ellen said was the order of presentations.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Noreen, I've been trying to reach her. Unfortunately,
yeah, me too. I
right
can't
now,
seem to get her.
I've tried calling. I could not connect with her. So maybe before Judy comes up, I could bring in some information to mothers who are on this call as we unveil the next LARAS Mothers quarterly meeting, which is hoping that after this there's going to be a follow-up on understanding different character cast of boys. Like this one area that we have not really talked about today is giving your boys labels. So mothers give their sons labels, different names. That is very, very negative. And these are not good for the boys. I read a book about 2 or 3 years ago on this. You know, there are boys you call Mr. Know-it-all. There are some you call them Mr. Popularity. When you get to a particular environment, you just bring that this popularity in them. And there are some they are clown kid. They look clown wherever they go to. You know, these are names. Some they are very angry. You call them the angry guy, the bully boy, the agitators. There are boys who are agitators, the apathetic guy, the bossy guy. Some want to feel bossy wherever you find them at home. Why is my son behaving bossy all of the time? There are several ways you can manage all of these behaviors. So it's going to be the post uh, summit meeting that we're going to have. And please, if you are here, kindly help us leave your email address or your contact details
Please,
in
please.
the chat room so we can get back to you and invite you when we get set for these quarterly meetings. We do appreciate you. And the last but not the least in the list of this character cards is what we call the disruptor dude. You know, these are boys who disrupt everything you're trying to do, especially for teacher in the classroom. Judy knows what I'm talking about very well because she has done an extensive research in that area. So this is going to be a follow-up to what we have today. And as we could not get Noreen, I want to appreciate you once again. And Jackie, you may please now bring our keynote speaker for today, Judy.
Yes, Judy. Judy has such a beautiful background. I am just so impressed with all the things that she's doing with boys and with raising boys. And instead of me telling you all about her history, I would rather hear from her. So we have the United States now present. We started with Canada and we went into Kenya, and now we are in the United States. Back to you. Well, we started in Nigeria, of course. But go ahead, Judy, if you will enlighten us with some of your thoughts about raising our young men.
Of course, thank you so much. Yeah, so I'll start with a little bit of an introduction to a little bit of background. My name is Judy Chu. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I always have deep respect for mothers. I'm also a mother. I have a 20-year-old son, and I have been teaching a class at Stanford University on boys' psychological and social development since 2003, basically when I was pregnant with my son. And I guess one of the things that people ask is I'll start with a story, is how I came to study boys in a more kind of formal capacity. I've always been interested in boys, like Nashipe. I love boys. I absolutely think they're interesting and fascinating, and they're deeply human. And I think that often, strangely gets overlooked and underestimated, the capacity for their ability to love and to care, and their tenderness and their sweetness, as well as their rambunctious behaviors and all the things that we stereotypically associate with them. But there's so much more than meets the eye, as Russ also pointed out, and I love getting to know them and to learn about them. The way that I came to study them through research was when I was a first-year doctoral student at Harvard University. I was working with a woman named Carol Gilligan, who became my advisor there. And I was taking a class with her on clinical interviewing, and I'd gone home to visit, and I was driving my 9-year-old, oh no, sorry, he was 9 years younger than me, 13-year-old brother and his friends around because they couldn't drive. And one of his friends said, "Oh, what are you learning at Harvard?" And I said, "Well, I'm learning about this work with Carol Gilligan, and she did this work with girls and about how to support girls, and especially because girls' self-esteem can come under threat and when they reach adolescence. And he was, this 13-year-old boy said to me, that's very important and everybody's concerned about girls, and I understand that, and that's all good that they're focusing on them, but there's stuff going on for boys too, and nobody's talking to us. And he said, you should study boys. You can start with me. And so I was kind of surprised by that. I wasn't, because at the time I'd grown up with the same stereotypes, same gender norms. I'd really kind of thought boys weren't interested in talking about this kind of thing. Boys didn't want to, or whatever, or weren't capable. Some of the stereotypes go very extreme. They say that boys are incapable or uninterested in relationships and connecting with people. Of course, all of that is not true. And so I went back, told Carol about this boy, and she said, you should go study him. You should talk to him. And he spoke to me for 2 hours, telling me about his friends and his parents and his relationships and his experiences at school. And he did have very much to say. And I have since then been learning from boys like him. So I had studied boys from ages 12 to 18 to begin. But what I was finding was that they had already gotten to a place where they were starting to try to convince themselves that, there's this gap between the way people say boys are and the way I experience myself to be. And coming to accept that gap is a part of growing up. Like if I fight that, if I think, oh no, I want people to see who I am, then that's a sign of my immaturity. So I just need to suck it up and just realize nobody's going to ever know who the real me is. Well, now as mothers, we know that's not true, right? As mothers, we know our boys, as both of the speakers so far have pointed out. And we know there's more to them, and we know they want to share these things. They want to show themselves. As with all human beings, we want to be seen for who we are and understood and accepted. We want that sense of belonging and purpose and meaning in our lives. And so one of the things that Carol, again, my advisor, said, well, if at adolescence, they're already kind of trying to convince themselves to accept this reality, then you need to look earlier. You need to look at a time when they're still actively showing a healthy resistance against this idea that they can't be known, that they're still putting themselves out in the world as they are. And so she encouraged me to look at 4-year-old boys at an age when they were just starting to kind of enter formal schooling, at least in the US. So these were pre-kindergarten boys. And what I found in my book, which is called When Boys Become Quote Unquote Boys. So when boys we know and love become the boys as society expects them to be, what that moment of transition looked like. And when I started, they were very rambunctious and energetic and spunky. The things that the parents, mothers and fathers both said, the things they loved the most and hoped their boys never lost was just this willingness to be out. Their lovingness. They wore their hearts on their sleeves, which is a saying in the States, which is to say they would and could tell you exactly what they were thinking and feeling and dreaming about. And it was so generous and so open and so wonderful. And then they were learning, in a very socially adaptive way as they entered the classroom and interacted with other kids and the adults, that there are these expectations for boys and also assumptions about what they're like, and they were finding that there are rules for engagement, right? How boys are supposed to behave if they want to be considered a real boy or if they wanted to become real men, right? And it wasn't, and I usually try to clarify that it's not because someone said, oh, you have to be a man, that they decide, okay, then I need to do this. The motivation behind their conformity, when they do conform to these, norms and expectations, is that they have an inherent and powerful desire to connect in meaningful ways with other people. They want to identify and relate to. They want to be one of the boys and with the boys, and particularly with the other boys, because at that age, they're running around and they were trying to figure out who they are. And if they identify as a boy, then they want to look like and act like and be accepted by the other boys. And so they were learning these rules. And as a consequence, there was I documented a shift from a point where they were really open about their relational capabilities, what they're capable of knowing and doing in their relationships, which was absolutely what you would see in girls and children of all genders, right? And they were learning that, oh, wait, I need to be more savvy. I need to be more selective about what I show about myself, what I reveal, how I present myself. And so they were learning like, oh, well, boys only play with these toys, or boys don't express their feelings, or they don't cry, or all the, the whole host of expectations that are oftentimes very two-dimensional and very, very narrow. And so the shift went from what I call from presence to pretense by way of posturing. So at first they demonstrated the capacity to be fully present and genuinely engaged, very attentive, very articulate, very direct in their communications, very authentic. And then they moved to not that they lost those abilities, but they moved to kind of present themselves in ways that made them seem inattentive, indirect, inauthentic, and what happened was, and what I tried to emphasize is that they were adapting to, it's not nature, it's not an unfolding of their nature, but they were adapting to society's definitions of what would get them, what would lead them to be valued and desirable as boys. But anyway, so let me boil this down because I know we have limited time, but so my three main findings of that particular study of the young boys was that they have relational capabilities that are often overlooked and underestimated, that there's a shift that begins at early childhood that kind of pushes them along this trajectory of boy socialization towards becoming real boys or real men, that causes them to cover up, hide or disguise or just, limit what they show of what they know. They learn not to show what they know because they don't want to get called a girl. They don't want to get called a baby, because oftentimes what boys are taught is in order to be masculine, you have to not be feminine, because at least in North American culture, oftentimes masculinity is defined as the opposite of femininity. So anything that's gendered feminine, like care and emotions and nurturing, boys aren't, it becomes viewed as a weakness or a liability for boys, because if they show these things, then they're not going to be considered boys, they're real boys. They're going to be called or teased as girls or babies. And so there's that shift. But the third most important finding is that desire and capacity for relationships and for closeness does not go away. They persist. There's a healthy resistance against cultural messages and pressures that are leading them to kind of devalue and kind of repress those things in themselves. And there's evidence in the adolescent boy studies and also in the men that I've worked and spoken with. They continue throughout their lives to seek connections and to resist disconnections. And so when we recognize that, and when we trace that back to the very beginning, which is that all infants are born into relationships, otherwise they cannot survive, right? And that those relationships, protective relationships, continue to be important throughout life, because for all genders. And so and the ability to cultivate those relationships and to value them serves them well professionally as well as personally. It will make them stronger leaders if they can relate to the people that they're working with. So it's a leadership quality, but it's also a personal quality, because it's essential to their family relationships, their romantic partnerships, their relationships with their children. So it makes them stronger community members as well. So this idea that we take something that is actually inherent, the infant studies have shown. There are studies in the UK that, Trevarthen and Murray and Tronick's in Boston, but have shown that, we're born with a capacity and desire for relationships and to connect with our full humanity intact. And then we put boys on the trajectory that's shaped by our societal norms about what boys and men should be, or beliefs about what boys and men should be and what we would value in them, puts them on a trajectory that leads them to deny or devalue those very traits that they need in order not only to have healthy relationships, but what the relationships then lead to is it's essential to their health and well-being in general, right? And so we know that relationships are important. And to bring it back to the theme of mothers, we know that the mothers are oftentimes the primary caregivers for children, right? So that's their first experience of relationship, of connection in the world. Then they carry those experiences with them into every other relationship they have down the road. And so that's where mothers have an incredibly important impact on the future of not just boys, all of our children, but boys in particular, because that's that experience where they develop that sense of security, of acceptance, all the things that Nashipe and that Dr. Pastor Mikhail mentioned, and all the things that we need to encourage. We mainly have to encourage them, not because boys can't do them, but because oftentimes boys are told by society that boys aren't supposed to do them. And so it's really the message is that we're not trying to turn boys into girls or to tell them or teach them to be something they're not. We're trying to help them stay with or return to who they were from the beginning, what they have the capacity for, and all the things that they need, the qualities, interests, skills, everything that makes them who they are individually and as a group, what they need in order to thrive. So again, those relationships are not, in the beginning are obviously essential to their survival, because, babies need to be fed, baby needs to be cared for, all these things that are a part of, the basic necessities of life. But relationships are also central to that. And so that's something that mothers play a very, very important role in. But I think I got carried away and too excited. And a lot of the things that I prepared were already covered so brilliantly by the two previous panelists. But let me just pause there, because I do know that, Ola and Jackie had really wanted to invite this, all the attendants into a conversation. I know you have experiences to share, wisdom to share, and questions. And so why don't I take a pause there, so that just to make sure that we're going to have, because a lot of the things I was going to say have been said brilliantly already. And so let me just, before I wander off and expand too much, hand it back to Jackie and Ola to see if you'd like to open it to questions from the audience and really bring in a fuller discussion that everyone can participate in.
How exciting to absolutely learn about the development. I'm sorry, that's jazz hands. And those of you that don't have your pictures on, I sure would like to know how wonderful you thought that was. It's a basic thing. I mean, I don't know all that, and it's beautiful to be able to have you share those thoughts. Oh my gosh. However, let's just say that our cast of what are we in, 33 was our major amount that we had here today to start with. We have a lot of people with a lot of background that is beautiful. Ola, we have a couple of choices here. We are to go till the hour, and I am excited about that because we will have time to share. We can do an open conversation first, and yet we could also do a breakout type of thing. The only trouble with breakouts is that I lose. So short of being self-centered about this whole thing, at least you would get more. Ola, what is your concept?
Let's have an open conversation. Let's not go into breakout. In the next quarter, we go into breakout session.
Okay.
Good to get different speakers and once we agree on that. But before we go into the open conversation, I like Judy and Pastor Catherine and Faith to consider answer this question, since you have been mothers of boys. Yes, Noreen, when she was here 2 days ago, she left a very valid comment that I took down, and I did share that with Jackie. And she said, boys' issues is first an environment issue. Now, how do mothers create environment where boys can thrive positively? What do mother needs, or what are the qualities that needed to be created or be in this environment to enhance the development of boys to come out in positive colors? Thank you so much.
So would you like each one of them to say what they are considering about how to create the environment for these young men to thrive? Is that really what you're saying, Ola?
Yes, maybe each person 2 minutes so that we save our time. And if we have anybody who wants to respond to that question from the audience, we'll be happy to have your contribution on that same question.
Okay, so let's start. First of all, Pastor, would you like to start with that concept?
Yes. Thank you. The first relationship a young man will have is with his mother, the very first relationship. And how a mother treats her son, it's more or less the template of what he would look for in a relationship. So how a mother speaks, how she nurtures, how she does things, that's what a young man will emulate when he's looking for a relationship. When he's looking at his school teacher, how she emulates, how she speaks, how she does things. When he goes to other areas, whether it be in sports, whether it be in any other organization, the boy becomes the observer. And when he becomes the observer, he's looking at the characteristics of what he within his own self is looking for. And I believe that, you know, what he gets at home, that's what he will be looking for when he goes out there. So I think the first relationship that young man gets is from his mother, not so much his father, because the mother, it will be the image of what he will look for as a girlfriend, as a wife. So how she speaks to him, how she nurtures him, how she takes care of the home, how she does things. This would be what the Bible talks about, the Proverbs 31 woman who can do all things. She's a good businesswoman, she's a good mother, she's all of these different characteristics. That's what this young man would look at from the time he has this relationship with his mother, whether she's easy to communicate with. So those are the, I believe, would be the instruments that would be used to help this young man to find what he's looking for in a wife, in a girlfriend, so forth.
Yeah, well put. Well put. Absolutely. She does create the environment, and he will emulate whatever she has or others. Absolutely. Faith, are you there? There you are.
Thank you. I believe everything begins with a very peaceful environment. How we set the environment as a peaceful environment in our homes is very critical, because home is the basic place where the boy starts learning. So, and this again speaks into the relationship and how we play out, how our relationship with our husbands or our partners plays out. I have met young men who have told me, because my father threw out my mother and he brought another woman, I found myself in the street. I have also met boys who told me, because my mother was thrown out and she got another man, this man became an ISO, or I became an ISO to this man, and I found myself in the street. And so I had to grow up and fend for myself without parents. I think that when we make our environment peaceful for the children, it is very, very important. The next thing is be non-judgmental.
Yes.
The one person who a boy will always come to with all trust is the mother. If she's judgmental, he doesn't know another place that he can go to with all the trust that he has put on. So if he's coming to you and like Sue was saying, that someone is just pressing and they're excited and they're talking their truth and everything, and they just lay everything there without thinking, and this is mama, so I'm okay, I'm happy. And then you decide to pick on him and become judgmental, tomorrow he will not come the same way. He will fear. He's already developed some cold feet, so he's not going to be able to negotiate through. So being non-judgmental in your communication is very important. Not attacking him based on what he told you in private is also very critical. He will come to you, he will tell you, Mama, I want us to talk, and he wants to have a deep conversation. And then tomorrow he hears you talking to your sister or to your friend about you've broken confidentiality. 1, 2, when you start making fun of him over something that he told you in private, you're breaking confidentiality and you're breaking his. So it's always good to be very sensitive about what your son values. And finally, make your environment enough. Mothers don't want their boys to go to the kitchen because they're going to make everything. No, just make it enough. Let him go and make everything dirty. After he's made everything dirty, start cleaning up with him. Tell him now, after we've made everything dirty, we also clean after ourselves. So we leave the environment cleaner than we found it. So give him an enabling environment. When he starts doing the cleaning of the house and he's not doing it very right, encourage him. Tell him, okay, yes, I have seen that you've done it, and survive it. If it has marks, if your floor has marks, just survive it. And then next time, show him how to do it, or maybe clean up the mop or something like that, so that at least he can have a better result. The more he does it, the more he loves. Back to you, Jackie.
Cool. Oh, so many wonderful thoughts. Delightful. Okay, Judy, you're on.
Yeah, to appreciate and build upon what they shared. I think that in response to the question about how mothers can create an environment that boys need, I usually suggest and emphasize, start with listening, because of course, all boys are different. And so we need to start with listening and trying with curiosity, with interest, with a desire to understand what their experiences are from their perspectives for each individual, because of course there's no one in the world like them, right? And so like your son, the particular boy that you're speaking to. And so really respecting their individual differences, who they are. Boys can tell you and show you what they need if they know that you're really interested. And that kind of builds and strengthens a bond that is based on respect and trust. And it also shows them that, if you're listening, and that means that you're valuing what their opinion, their perspective, and of course mutuality. So it's not like you're somehow placing them on a pedestal and saying that they're, but then that, but really creating the sense of equality and mutual respect. And really that spreads eventually to democracy, right? Their idea that everyone has a voice, everyone's voice is equal. You're listening to them, they're listening to you. You have more experience to share. So I'm not saying you're relinquishing your role and responsibilities as a parent. And of course, you want to make sure that it's age appropriate, what the responsibilities that but definitely, as both speakers of the other panelists have shared earlier, is kind of really bringing yourself fully present, listening with humility. I love what was also brought up earlier when Faith said that, when she first had her baby and she didn't know what to do. I think we are all in that situation. And I think that's one of the most beneficial positions to start with, including in research, as they always, my advisor always said, start from a place of not knowing. So this real genuine humility of saying, I don't assume I know about you because of the way you look or because of your identity, features. I'm really here to hold space for you to enter as you are. And that, so that the nurturing and positive environment that mothers can help to create is a space that invites and values boys when they bring themselves fully into relationship. So to realize a whole range of their human emotions, as was mentioned before, everything from happiness to pain and to fears, and to validating that and saying, yeah, absolutely, that's normal. That's part of being human. And I feel that too. And I'm struggling too. And it's not to turn your child into a therapist, but to say, your therapist, but to say that, let them know that you can relate to them and that you make mistakes too. And not everything is under control. In fact, very few things are under our control. And so we can have these vulnerabilities and we can bear them, and it can actually even make us stronger. Because, as has been mentioned many times, the world is scary right now. There's a lot of anger, there's a lot of bad things going on. And I think it makes people anxious and depressed and fearful. And to kind of, first of all, validate that for kids, not to be like, oh, don't worry, everything's going to be fine, because that feels like a lie. And it kind of, it's not, but to say, there are things happening, but let's try to figure out, who are the helpers? Where are the safe spaces? Who can we trust? And to show them that their world does include those things as well. So there are scary things on the outside, but there's a lot of things that they can find in their families, in their communities, in their mentors, in their religious leaders. They can find a trusting relationship that will help, that will allow them to feel joined as they move forward. And again, as Pastor Catherine mentioned, the relationship that the mother kind of starts out can expand, so that trust that gets developed there will then extend to other people other significant people in their lives who can be of influence and support for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. Boy, if you didn't get nuggets from all that, there's something wrong. There's so much. And it all stems back to essentially what I've been keeping as a trend lately is empathy. Empathy is not sympathy. Empathy in any conversation, be it an adult or a child, is so true here. When you go into a conversation of listening, and I mean complete listening, without judgment, just completely listening, not giving advice, let them fail. well, there's no such thing as fail if they learn, but let them fall. They've got to learn or they'll do it again. And then perhaps an experience to share and let them make the choices. But it starts with listening without judgment. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just so impressed with who we have on this screen. And I know there are hidden nuggets throughout this entire 33. Now we're down to 24. We'd love to be able to see some of these people and to have any addition of what we've missed, if that's possible, with these beautiful speakers. If you would raise your hand, if you can do it with your electronic hand, that makes it easier for me. And that's down below in a little place called emotions, reactions. Would love to hear from you. Okay, we have Deborah Kadu. And if you'd say the country you're from and then your name so that we can record. And please put your information in the chat. I just get so frustrated when I can't get back to people. Deborah, you're on.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I'm attending this for the first time and I am so excited and I'm so happy to join this space. I'm dialing in from Madison, Wisconsin in the USA. I'm a Ugandan and I am one of I'm a feminist, I'm a women's rights, blah 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 blah. And I'm one of the women who very early on realized that it was no use talking to ourselves as women in the fight for gender equality.
Yeah.
And the advancement of women and girls generally. And I think as far back as 20 years ago, at that stage, I was actually coordinating an organization. I was like the executive director of an organization called Hope After Rape that had started out as a support group for girls and women. And at that juncture, I was like, wait a minute, there's no way we can prevent this epidemic if we're not engaging boys and men. And I then embarked on a very lonely journey of trying to convince fellow women about the importance of working with boys and men to address that particular epidemic in my country by then. And it was an uphill struggle. It was an uphill task. Of course, women could not hear about it. And to this day, there's so many who still haven't been convinced about the importance of this. And I was coming from a point of, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I was coming from a perspective of, yes, many of us may have been mistreated, abused by boys and men in our lives, but I had a wonderful dad, and there's some wonderful men out there like my dad. I have 6 brothers, and there's no way we can continue this conversation alone. And so fast forward to now, I'm happy to report that in Uganda, since then, we have been able to start engaging very, very, very proactively and strategically in building a movement of male champions for gender equality. That's how I'm going to summarize it. And so through an email, a WhatsApp group, this information came through, and I was like, I'm going to do everything to attend this, because this is one thing I had never really started working on, the issue of how to communicate to mothers. Okay. We've been focusing on fathers and men. But then what I like about this space is that now it's also about teaching mothers to raise these amazing gentlemen. Okay. Beautiful. So beautiful. That's my story. I can go on and on and on, but I am so excited. And please let me know how I can continue being part of this space.
Yeah, be sure we have your contact information. Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. Got me all choked up. Thank you so much. It's so important to have contact information because your reality throughout the whole thing is perfect for what we are doing, and it is just ideal. Thank you so much. And now I'm going to mess up the name, but I'll give it a try anyhow. Ketchy, you know who I'm talking about. Thank you. Please help me. NKECH.
Hi.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
hi,
The NK.
Jackie.
Thank you. Thank you
No,
for
it's
saving
fine.
me.
It's a good evening. All right, so good evening, Jackie, and good evening to Ola. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. It's exciting to see so many women at this LARAS summit. So I'm so glad. Okay, so two things I want to share briefly is my name is Nkechi Macaulay, and I'm the founder of Boys Lives Matter Foundation. It's an organization designed to create awareness on the sexual abuse of the boy child, enlightening boys on sexual education. So I run campaigns to enlighten everyone that boys are also victims of being sexually abused. 1 out of 6 boys will be abused before they turn 18. So as a mother, you need to pay close attention to your son. He's also a victim of rape, of harassment, of so many ills that can happen to a boy sexually. We need to look at that issue critically, clearly, so we can help boys understand how to prevent being abused sexually as they grow older. Number 2, I have a son. He's 11. And I've raised him for 11 years as a single mother. And so a couple of weeks ago, I had to get my son a father figure because I knew I didn't have all the tools as a woman to raise a boy. So I got an old classmate of mine, who's a dear friend of mine, who has joined me to mentor my son. It's been an amazing talk this past couple of weeks. My son has learned new stuff and it's like, wow, this is so interesting. So they talk, they relate. He has taught my son how to journal his emotions. And so I want to encourage every mother who is single like me, get your son a father figure. Your boy needs another man to help him navigate manhood. I can't do that for my son. I'm a woman. I'm limited. I understand my limitation. So I've gone out of my way to get my son a father figure. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Ola.
Thank you
It's so nice being
so
here.
much. So glad to have you here. Be sure we have your contact information. Really important. So Emily, you're up next. At least I can pronounce the first name. That's good. That's a good start.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I don't know what
Good
time
evening.
it is in the other countries.
It doesn't
My name
matter.
is Emily Ndeke. My name is Emily Ndeke from Kenya. I'm a school teacher and also a counseling psychologist in a boys' school. And when my friend introduced me to this webinar, I said, wow, now this is where I belong. And I would like, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. I would like to comment something on the previous speaker about what she has said about being a single mother and getting a male figure for the son. Now, that is the biggest problem I've been having as a counseling psychologist. I don't know how we are going to help, especially single mothers, to get father figures for the sons.
Yeah.
That is the biggest problem from where I stand. And when I was just going through the statistics of my school, I realized that 67% of the population in the school are from single mothers.
Ooh.
And I find myself counseling the mothers more than I do the boys.
Yeah.
Because when they call in for help, actually, I come to realize it is not the problem of the boy. Actually, the mother needs to do something. So my request here is, how do we help, especially mothers and mother figures who are bringing up boys without a male figure, to help us bring up men who are all-rounded, men who know themselves. I'm dealing with 16, 17-year-old boys who don't even know themselves. Maybe the only thing they know about themselves is the name. But any other thing is just strange. And just to wrap it up, this unfortunate situation is the one that has actually increased cases of homosexuality and drugs and masturbation from where I work. So as we talk about the boys, I'm happy, let's bring in the mothers too, and especially mothers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You know, Emily, it's makes a lot of sense. However, my suggestion would be to have with your school a group, a club from the school of men in the community that would like to volunteer to be role models.
I'm working on that, and out of a population of 411, I only have 7 men who have come up.
That's
so with
okay.
them together, we have formed a WhatsApp group, and we want to lobby so that they may see the need. The
Yes.
mothers on board may see the need of having a father and father figures for their sons.
Emily?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
I'll bet Faith can help you with that too. Faith
Yes,
is paying
Emily.
attention, I am sure, and I know a lot of people in Kenya. So,
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes.
great start.
Emily,
We'll reach out to each other with Emily and see how we can support her school.
yes, and
Thank
definitely
you.
too, Emily, I have quite a good number of men in Uganda, where you come from, that we can form a coalition of men to provide fatherhood services to boys in need of positive father figures in Uganda. So I'll be glad to work with you after this summit. I will definitely follow up on your school and make sure that we have very good curriculum that can help mothers and engage the fathers, no matter how little, in your work with the boys in your school. So hopefully after this summit today, please reach out to me so that we can create a framework that will be very effective for those 400 and something boys you have in your school. They are very dear to my heart right now.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay, let's
Thank you
have,
so
what is it? Bosola, is that how you pronounce it? If you'll unmute yourself, please, and speak.
Yeah, this Busola is not coming up. Can we have Omosuzi?
I wonder if we can get Bosola. Let me see, who else would be next? Bosola, can you unmute yourself? Or at least you had your hand up. Okay, let's go on to Omozazu. I missed that, messed it up. If you would come ahead and open up your mic, please. Come on, you guys. I know you how to know how to do that. You know how to do that. Come on. Come on. You notice down at the bottom, there's a little mic. Go down there and unmute. Okay. I don't see any other hands up since I'm not getting anything. Oh, there we look, Omozuza. If you unmute yourself, please. Come on, you can do it. I know you can.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yay.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Good evening from Nigeria.
Ah.
And super excited to be here. It's very excited, really, to be in the midst of several beautiful and intelligent mothers. I think I've learned a lot from everyone, really, and it's been a very wonderful time being here today. Um, I think I just want to add a little bit of my thoughts to what we've been saying, like all evening. I think really the journey of motherhood starts from when the baby is in the womb. And I know that some time ago, I read an article that said something about even the emotions of the mother can be perceived by the baby in the womb. The connection is that serious. And what that really tells me is that even before these boys are born into the world, uh, they already, apart from the fact that they're connected to you as a mother, they already are beginning to invite some of the emotions that you are carrying as a mother. So eventually, when these kids come out, and just like one of the speakers said, and we look at this bundle of joy being given to us, and I think the starting point for us as mothers should be the humility for us to own up, to say, okay, this is another human being, and different from my gender, the universe, God, whichever one we believe in. What do I do with this life? Because it's a very huge responsibility for us to be given that kind of privilege. That's the way I see it as a mother. Being a mother of 3 boys myself, I know it's a huge responsibility. So as mothers, we need to come from that space where we're humble enough to say, to ask for help. First from the universe, from God, from source, then we look around us and see where else we can get help concerning these boys. Because the fact is, the fact that you're a mother, these boys are not females like you. Maybe it's a bit easier to deal with the girls because you know what it was being a girl. You pass through that stage. But here you've given a gift that you don't even know. The hormones in them is quite different from the one in you. And you have to be the guardian, you have to be the custodian of this life, sort of, at least to a point where the child can now take charge. So coming from a place of humility, that's one. Then also, I think that as women, as mothers, we need to understand who we are as well. Because, I mean, except maybe for those of us that have just one child, maybe one son. For me, I have 3. And believe me, my 3 sons are different packages on their own. My first son is very laid back, a bit of an introvert. Oh, he's outgoing when he's in the space with his friends. He laughs, all that. But to the outside world, you will see him as an introvert and all that. My second son is totally different from that. He's very bubbly. He's full of energy and he wants to express that energy whichever way he can. So, as mothers as well, especially when we have more than one, we need to know that these children might not all, I mean, they're all different packages. And as such, we're given this duty to be able to deal with each and every one of them. For me as a mother, I'm not a super extrovert. So I think at some point in my life, I think it would have been easier to get along very well with my first son because he was the kind of person very phlegmatic. Sometimes he didn't want any trouble. So he would rather conform much more easily. My second son is obviously not like that. He would want to question a lot of things. So as a mother, it's very easy for us to tilt more or lean more towards the child that is a bit like us in terms of temperament. View the one that is really not like us as a little bit rebellious, and we start to label such a child in the family. So having a heart large enough to actually embrace all of them. The one whose temperament is a bit like yours, the one that is total opposite of who you are, I think is a big necessity for us. And it starts from the place of really knowing who we are first as mothers. Then we can help the children to know who they are. I think that will be a very good starting point for the children, for the boys. And I think, lastly, aside from knowing who we are, being humble enough to ask for help, I think it's very important as mothers for us to actually be very open, just like one of the speakers said, to be not to really, I mean, it's not like you're giving away your authority. In this part of the world where I come from in Africa, it's very easy for parents to feel a little bit insecure about a thing like that. Like you're giving away your authority as a parent. You just need to be high up there, you know, and you dish the orders, and the children are just supposed to fall in line. We know that, I mean, most of the time, it doesn't work that way. And that's why sometimes we even see kids that are from very religious background, maybe pastors' children, they're showing a different side of who they are at home. And outside the home, they're pretty different people. And their parents don't even know that. So I think I will be very glad for us to have more of this so that we can help mothers, because we need all the help we can get. We need all the help we can get with these boys. Thank you very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I just love all of these thoughts. It's absolutely beautiful. And we're ending up at the end of the 2 hours. I am just so inspired. And I want you to really realize that all these things that we've uncovered, and many of which we knew, is the fact that there are so many resources for all of you. I'm in 20 countries. Let me just tell you that we have so many resources in so many ways. Of course, B-Man is one, Spirit of the Games one. We have all kinds of organizations that will give you either the role models or places to be to get more support and to realize the value of the men in our world of women doing our darndest to bring love and peace. Let's face it, we need to work together as a team. We need to work together as one. And Ola, I see you've disappeared. Where are you, Ola?
We had Nancy was trying to get your
There you
attention,
are.
Jackie.
Yeah. Oh, Nancy's always trying to get my attention. That's nothing new. But you did. Oh, now you have your hand up. You got 1.5 minutes, Nancy. Have you ever done anything in 1.5 minutes?
Not at all. I wanted to get on because some people didn't come on. I wanted to fill that space. But thank you for inviting me, Jackie. I know you had one previous and I missed it. And so this is amazing with all these women coming on and talking about boys, because that's one of the areas I think, because Jackie and I deal in Spirit of the Game, which is a nonprofit. And I met a lot of people around the world. And one of the things that people were saying is about young boys and young men. They need the guidance. They really do. And I think having the education, having you telling mothers to really listen to the boys and not just listen like one ear and hearing. Hearing is very different than listening. Listening is not always easy for a lot of people. And when you're not listening and being present and paying attention, the child's not going to feel it. They're smart. These kids are really, really smart. So role model, being a part of their lives, and also seeing who are their friends, who are they hanging out with. Do you know? I was like on top of my son. Well, he's older now, so I'm glad. Raised really good. I'm not a single mother, but the thing is, I can see if you're involved with your children, that is going to be paramount. And to have the men to be involved as well, education is so important. So Jackie, having these types of meetings where women can come together and say, this is working for me, this is not working for me. This gives you the opportunity not to reinvent the wheel, but you have someone like Faith coming on and Judy coming on and the other speakers coming on talking about there is resources out there. It's just being able to step out to find those resources. And you just got a nice little spot here. And Deborah just said her thing too. So it's everything is all here for everybody. Okay, I did it. 1 minute.
Well, that was pretty good. Okay, Ola, final comments as we, I'll give one last quote as we leave, but do you have one more comment?
I have one more.
Okay, do it fast.
May I do it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I was just thinking, I don't know if people here have heard or even participated in the annual Commission on the Status of Women that happens every year in New York. It's a year-long process that culminates in this big UN meeting in New York every March. Now, this is a great space for us to start doing some advocacy around this issue. And I'm very new to this group. I'm trying to understand how you do stuff. And I really want to continue participating. But I feel that that's a great space, if we can, to start amplifying this very, very important message. Because there is a backlash out there from women ourselves. That's it. And I can provide more information. I'll be happy to take this
Can
further.
I say something?
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Can I say something?
Certainly.
Yes,
Thank you. And sorry, Deborah, for interrupting you. You actually spoke my mind. I raised my hand because earlier this year, I was able to sponsor a side event together with our government of Kenya, where we were talking about amplifying male engagement and inclusion towards ending When we did that, one of the resolutions of the CSW 67, which happened this year, came out as we need to empower the young boy and the man, the young man, as part of gender equality. Notice that all this journey has been that every other time we talk about male engagement, talk of them as allies and partners. But we don't see them as people with needs and people who are supposed to be empowered so that we can have equal gender. Gender equality. So in this case, what we did, we were able to voice that, and we are hoping that, personally, because I'm the one who really sponsored this, I am hoping that we can be able to bring all of us together.
We should.
And maybe in the next PSW, carrying forward from that, how can poverty, because I know poverty is one of the areas, how can we be a challenge to a young boy? And we create a concept around that and see how we can all build up to one side event talking about boys, empowerment of the boys, because we're already speaking from the previous CSW. Jackie, I know I have seen your biography, and I'm like, we have someone that we can work with here. That is Equimundo, and I believe that we can all our energies together and see what is this coming together, come up with a very succinct concept and present it for a side event.
Beautiful.
If you
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I sit at the National Gender Working Group in Kenya. I am also chairing male engagement and inclusion in the country. Should you want me to use our government to sponsor the agenda, we can still use our government mechanism for us to be able to get to a side event.
Well, thank you so much. And one of the things we can continue with this, and one of the things I've been trying to do is to convince the male engagement movement in Uganda to start thinking of how to participate at the government level in the CSW. So please, let's just continue with this conversation. And now is the time to start planning.
Yes, absolutely. Ola, one final swoop.
Yes, Jackie. Thank you so very much, each and every one of you who had been able to create enough time till the end of this 2023 LARAS Summit event. I'm so blessed to have people like you, very much blessed to have a lot of mothers on this call. I know time is no longer on our side to really accommodate more mothers who want to speak, but I will work with everyone, Judy, Pastor Catherine, Faith, Nancy, and everyone on this call to create a community of mothers globally that can amplify the need for mothers' education support in order for them to cultivate our young men to become positive and a thriving members in their various societies. I have been able to create a funding page through our partner in the US, Global Giving. I will share this in the chat. So if you can help us, no matter how little it might appear this season, to everyone. Jackie, you can help us put that link in the chat. Whoever is blessed to support us, we want to have an outreach for young boys living in mother-absent homes so that they can have a beautiful season. And this will just take a little from whatever we can raise to make sure these boys have, and mothers who are in need, they have access to funding from us. So with that being said, I'm having issue to share this link. Jackie, if you can.
Yeah, I don't have it. I'm trying to find it. I don't know that I have it.
Oh, I sent it to you for.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have
know.
it.
Okay, let me send it to meeting group.
Just put it in the chat. I don't.
Okay. Well, if you can find it.
Well, if you go to Global Giving and then you go ahead and just go to BMAN, BMAN, you should be able to find us, I would think.
Yeah.
I thought you put it in the chat already, but I'm not sure.
If you leave your email address, I put it to you. I put it to you, Jackie. It was a direct chat I sent to you. If you can see that.
You're great. No. Just go into Global Giving and look for BMAN advocacy. That's the best that we can do at this time. Looking at our, what do we have? No, I don't have it. Sorry.
Yeah. If we can take that one, please leave your email addresses.
Yeah,
we'll
be sure
sending
we
out
can send the video too.
recording.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be
so that we
great.
can send you the recordings of this story, and that would be very great. We really appreciate you, and we'll continue to do more of this. See you in another quarter. I will liaise with Judy, Pastor Catherine, and every other members on the call. So we'll have this every quarter, and we'll have a bigger one in October of every year. So between now and the next quarter, we'll carry everyone along on how to be part of this global LARAS Mothers Initiative. With that being said, I love you all. Without you, I don't think this will have been a success. So I appreciate you from the depth of my heart, and I say God bless.
Absolutely. Be open to wonder rather than closed by belief. That's by Gary Spence. Thank you all. Be sure to save the chat and have a wonderful evening, day, whatever it is. Thank you. It's a beautiful start.